Hi friend, and welcome back to the Blossoming Beauties YouTube channel. If you are here for the first time, my name is Tanya and this is my dog Shiloh. That's my cat Gracie. Let me know you're here. It's so crazy. I make these videos and I see that people are watching them, but I'm like, who's watching them? So let me know who you are. Let me know where you're coming from. I want to get to know you. You're getting to know me, but I want to get to know you too. This is a channel where we talk about the woman's heart, divine femininity, and all things related to living beautifully, body, soul, and spirit. And so if you are a woman who is passionate about personal growth and becoming the best version of yourself that you can be, if you are a woman who is passionate about community to support other people in their journey, then subscribe and join the tribe. But I'm really excited to be on this journey. It's been a really interesting and vulnerable process for me. A lot of people have said that I come across as really comfortable and natural on the camera, but the truth is that I actually really have to psych myself up before every video I create because this is highly vulnerable. It's a vulnerable process for me. I pour my heart and my soul into these videos. I spend a lot of time creating them and you just never know. But I'm doing this in faith. That kind of brings us to the topic of today's video, which is why. Why did I start a YouTube channel? Bottom line, I'm just a girl that said yes. I do believe that God has asked me to start this channel. Faith is a huge part of my life, wanting to follow him wherever he leads and grow through the process. And so I'm growing through this process in obedience and surrender, but it is stretching me out of my comfort zone because I have been a very private person. I have not blasted my life on social media. And for me to do this has not been easy. It's not been an easy process. I've cried. I've gotten frustrated. It's been an interesting 6-week journey so far, but we're still at it. That says something. Why did I start this YouTube channel other than just giving God my yes, because I felt like he was asking me to start stepping out and sharing my story and sharing the things that I've learned and grown through. And I've gone through a lot of healing in the last 6 years. I've experienced a lot of freedom in my journey, and my story is one of childhood sexual trauma, a lot of relationship failures, dysfunctional romantic relationships, divorce. I've gone through a lot. I got to a point 6 years ago where I felt like everything I tried to do, I failed at. I was so hopeless and I was so discouraged and defeated in life. I hit my rock bottom. Mine didn't have to do with substance abuse as it did with emotional trauma and emotional issues. I got really tired of feeling constantly defeated and discouraged in life, and I didn't really understand why. I remember writing a poem and I called it To the Normies, and I wrote it to all the people because I looked around and I felt like I was the only one. I felt like everybody had figured out how to do life. Everybody was doing life really well. They had their careers, they had their families, everybody was normal, and I couldn't get there. No matter how much I gave my best to things, somehow I would self-sabotage. I would find myself in a situation that was destined to failure from the start. I kept picking relationships with men that ended up becoming abusive or full of betrayal and ended in rejection. I lost all hope for my future. I had no vision for my future. I felt extremely defeated in life. I was in a space of complete despair. I was diagnosed with depression and PTSD and anxiety disorder and PMDD, and my body was so dysregulated because of everything that I had gone through. Chemicals and the hormones were so off balance that every monthly cycle for me was not just physically excruciating, but emotionally excruciating. Life was like a roller coaster for me. I would have 2 good weeks and then I would plummet and I would get almost like suicidal. And then I would get relief because my period would start, and life was just really unstable. And I was so overcome by heartbreak and disappointment. I was so beat down by some of the situations and relationships that I had been in. And then I hit a turning point in my life and everything began to change for me. And I am a woman of faith. I do have a biblical foundation. I got real with God. And I said, Lord, your word says that you have a future for me to hope for, but I have no hope for my future. So if you are a God of your word, I need you to come through for me, and I need you to fill me back up with hope. And I said, Jesus, You said that you came to give me abundant life. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but you came to give me abundant life. And this life that I've been living is far from abundant. And I don't want to live it anymore. I need you to teach me how to live. I hit my point of complete surrender, and that is when everything changed. And then I began to walk through this journey of healing. I worked with a counselor, but I also spent a lot of time in the Word and a lot of time in self-reflection and examining my heart and going back and working through the things that I had gone through up until that point. Everything I had experienced had shaped me. Everything that I had gone through had formed my world paradigm, and all of the experiences that I had gone through basically determined the decisions I made. And so much of who we are is programmed based off of our personal experiences and then our cultural experiences. And I entered into what I now call my journey of unbecoming. And I had to let go of and unlearn and dismantle everything that I had gone through and learn to look at it a different way. And there were so many resources and people that came into my life that helped me navigate through this really painful process that I went through. Healing can be very painful and messy, and I think that's why a lot of people choose not to go down that path, because they feel like it's better to just kind of keep in control and go through the motions. I know that there was a point in my early 20s when my sexual trauma was coming to a head from my childhood, and I was really being encouraged to face it. And I remember driving in my car one day and praying and saying, God, I really don't want to feel it. Like, I don't want to feel all of this, because my fear is if I let myself feel it, I am going to completely fall apart and never recover. And I know that I'm not the only one who has come up against that, because I've talked with other women in this journey of life, and I've come to realize that a lot of us feel that way. A lot of us feel this pressure to keep it together, and so we don't feel like we can actually feel. We don't really want to take the time to go back and rewrite our past. I went through this wilderness season. I call it my wilderness season. In Exodus, you have the Israelites who are slaves in Egypt, and then God sends Moses to deliver them out of slavery and lead them into the promised land. But in this process of going from slavery to freedom, they walk through the wilderness for 40 years. And in the wilderness is where I became wrecked by God's love. And my life began to completely transform. And there were still painful things that I went through. There were roads that I believed God was leading me down that did not end in the outcome that I thought they would. And I had to go through those heartbreaks and disappointments. But in all of it, God was with me, and He was guiding me, and He was refining me, and He was comforting me, and He was teaching me and strengthening me and healing me and leading me forward. Several months ago, I really started feeling like the Lord wanted me to start sharing my story. Not just to share my story, just to put more content out there, but to share my story, because we overcome by the word of our testimony and the blood of the Lamb. And so what I've come to realize is that a lot of us, though the technicalities of our story may be different, how we emotionally have processed them is very similar. But there's a lot of things that we are not talking about with each other as women. We're not talking about our sexual trauma. We're not talking about our abortion experiences. We're not talking about the devastation from our divorces. We're not talking about the struggles we have in parenting, or the struggles we have in not being able to have children. Or there are little pockets of communities that do that, but for the most part, we kind of have this belief system like I did, like, well, everybody else is okay and I should be too. And so we just try to pick up our bootstraps and move forward in life. But the reality is that many of us are weary, worn down, and we don't truly feel satisfied or fulfilled in the lives that we're living. Even if we have everything that we ever wanted, we feel like there's something missing. We feel like there's something more. Our hearts are longing for something more, but we don't even know what that more is. We don't know what it looks like. And so we try to suppress that desire. We try to just keep going with what we know and think that maybe in time it'll go away. And it doesn't go away, because we were made for so much more than what most of us have come to know and come to accept as normal. What I've come to realize is that what has been normalized is not natural. And so I believe that many of us have to go through this process of unbecoming, and it may not look for you like I did for me, but I do believe that all of us have different levels of healing and freedom in our hearts that we can still achieve, and I still do. I mean, I've been on this journey for 6 years, and though I've been healed from depression. I no longer struggle with depression. I no longer struggle with anxiety. I no longer struggle with PTSD. I no longer struggle with PMDD. My body is healed significantly. My hormonal cycle is a lot more normal than it's ever been. I was trying to fix my external. And 6 years ago, I put all of that on pause and I decided to focus on the internal. I started to focus on my soul and my spirit. And as I started to focus on working things out in my soul and in my spirit, my relationships started to change. My body started to heal. Things started to change for me externally, but it started from within. It's easy for us to focus on, oh, if I just lose 10 pounds, or oh, if I just keep my house cleaner, or oh, if I just get that promotion, or oh, if I just get that bigger house, or if I just make that room better. Or it's easy for us to externally focus, but we need to get within. And we also need community. We cannot go through the process of healing alone, and we cannot heal what we're not willing to be honest about. In the convictions of this is what is birthing this Blossoming Beauty's YouTube channel. I want to be somebody who is transparent. I want to share my story, and I also have friends who have agreed to share their stories on here too. I have a friend who abortion is a part of her story, and she's agreed to partner with me and come on here and share her story and share her experience. I have a friend who's gone through miscarriage, and she's going to get on here and share her story. You know, friends who have dealt with disappointment in life and had to learn to be resilient and overcome the disappointment and pursue a different path. We each have a story, and so I don't want to be the only one on here sharing all the time. I really want to invite others in so that you can hear the stories of others, and we can learn from one another, and we can grow together into women who are living from a place of wholeness and from a place of freedom. Because if our hearts can be made whole, and if we can be truly set free, we can live the beautiful life, and we can bring our best selves to our families, to our jobs. For those of you who have kids, you're stopping the dysfunction within yourself, and you're not going to perpetuate it into the next generation. I mean, the heart of a woman is a powerful place. And when we're broken, and when we're run down, and when we're weary, hurt people, but healed people heal people. And so I want to create a community here of women who are passionate about healing, who are passionate about freedom, who are passionate about spiritual maturity and growing into who they were created to be and living the lives that they were destined for, so that they can live the beautiful lives that God has for us. Abundant life. Living beautifully is like the feminine touch on that. I read a quote about 6 years ago by Anais Nin, and it really profoundly impacted me. Oftentimes we're so molded by our life experiences and the cultural pressures that are placed on us, we don't even really know who we are. And we're going through the motions of life, and we're doing what we think we need to do, but we don't even really know why. And there's a complete lack of satisfaction in it for us. And then, you know, as women, right, we're so hard on ourselves. And so then we start shaming ourselves for feeling that way. My hope is that this would be a shame-free space where you can come as you are and realize that you're not alone in it, and that we can encourage one another. And my hope is that if you're watching this video, that you would engage, that just like I'm choosing to be vulnerable, that you would choose to be vulnerable, and that you would engage in the community by leaving comments below and share what you're struggling with, because maybe there's somebody who's coming here that'll read that comment and they've gone through the same thing, but now they're on the other side, and they can come in and they can encourage you and support you in it. I read something in a book about 5 years ago, and it said that painful experiences become trauma when we go through them alone. But when we go through painful experiences and we have a community around us that are able to support us through it, the pain no longer becomes trauma. It's something that we're actually able to heal from, recover from, and get stronger. One thing I have discovered is in our culture of Christianity in the West specifically, there's an incredible lack of discipleship. Most of us don't even really think about discipleship, but discipleship is a huge part of the Christian lifestyle. We are not only called to be disciples and follow Jesus, but we are called to go out into the world and make disciples. Christianity has kind of become powerless in a lot of ways in the West because a lot of us call ourselves Christians, but we don't actually live the Christian life because we don't really know what it looks like. We don't even realize that we're not living the Christian life. We don't even realize that we're not living the abundant life that Jesus has for us. We don't even realize because, again, it's been normalized. Just because my dysfunction was normal to me didn't mean that it was healthy, didn't mean that I was free. You guys, let me tell you, I'm not saying I've mastered it, okay? I'm not saying that I'm living totally whole and totally free and that I never have a bad day and that everything is sunshine and roses and I'm feeling joyful all the time and, life is great. Like, no, life is hard. We go through messy things and it is hard to navigate through. But what I have grown in is knowing how to navigate through that. And that is really exciting. In fact, I've come to a place in my life where I get thankful when those things come up. You know how like parents will mark the growth of their child on a wall? They'll put like a line on the wall and the date and the age of the child, and then like maybe a year later they'll do it, and so the kid can see how much they've grown. When these hard things come back up in my life, for me, it's one of those spiritual marking moments where I can look at that and go, whoa, last time this happened, this is how I handled it. And this time, this is how I handled it. I'm growing, I'm healing, I'm becoming more free. So I get thankful now when hard things happen because it's an opportunity for me to not only reflect on the growth that I've already experienced, but also an opportunity for me to put into practice what I've learned and become stronger in it and become healthier in it and become more free in who I authentically am, who I was created to be, and how God calls me to live. And so we don't have to have it all together. None of us have it all together. There is no need to have it all together. But we can be passionate about living our best lives, and in grace we can grow. Together I believe that we can heal and we can become the women that we were created to be, and we can learn to live beautifully and we can blossom. And so my hope in creating this channel is, I of course hope that these videos would get exposed to women all around the world. I of course hope that this would become a community of women that are passionate about growth and becoming their true selves. But that is my passion. It's to help women, and that lives would be transformed, and that families would be transformed, and that children would be transformed, and generations would be transformed. And I know that it sounds crazy, but I really feel like if women actually got healthy and free, we could change the world. I do believe that there's incredible power and strength in the divine feminine spirit. And I do believe that God created something extremely unique in the heart of a woman, and that when the heart of a woman is whole and when her spirit is free, she holds the power to transform her world. And if we're all living that way, we truly could transform the world that we live in. Thanks for sharing your space with me today, you guys. I hope that I was able to share my heart with you clearly as to why I started this channel. I've got so many ideas of videos that I'm planning on doing for you guys, and I'm really excited about it, even though I have like my little moments of freak out before I make each one. Thank you for sharing your space with me, and I hope that you guys are having a beautiful day, and I really hope that I get to know you. Leave a comment and let me know what kind of videos you would like to be seeing. What kind of content would be helpful for you, because I'm here to support. I'm here to help, and I might not be able to speak into the area that you're struggling with, but I might know somebody who can and who is willing to come onto this channel and share their story. Or if you have something that's on your heart and you want to get on here and share your story, then contact me as well. Let me know, because this is not my space. This is God's space, and may we all be able to share our stories here, and may we all learn from one another and grow with each other, and may we make the world a more beautiful place. Love you lots. Thanks again for spending time with me, and I'll see you guys again next week.